Hello, so a few of you have been asking about some of these questions which were at the end of the Corbett Maths worksheet I set you. So we're given 3 brackets and we're given what we get when we expand those 3 brackets out, and then we're given a couple of values to try and work out within the bracket. So we need to find A and B, the A here and the B there. Okay, so way I would go about it is I would focus first of all on working out A. So A is over here, okay? Now, it's attached to the X, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I've got AX there, and I know if I started expanding this out, the only way I'd get this x cubed term here is by multiplying this AX here by this X here and this X here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a note of that, so I can just write that I know that if I do AX, which is from my first bracket, multiplied by the X from the second bracket, multiplied by the X from the third bracket, I will get the 3x squared. So I can say that these 3 things multiplied together, this times this times this, needs to give me that 3x squared. So I'm going to say that's equal to 3x cubed, pardon me, not squared. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to simplify what I've got going on here. So AX times X would be AX cubed. That's equal to 3x cubed. So just by inspection now, we can see that A has to be 3. Okay, so we can just write that down now. A equals 3. Okay. So now we need to deal with B. We need to find out what B is. So I'm going to take a similar kind of tack. I know that if I've got B here, which is just a constant, and I know that the only way I'm going to get this positive 10 over here is from multiplying minus 2 by B by minus 1. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to say that minus 2 multiplied by B multiplied by minus 1 equals 10. Because I know this times this times this has to give me that 10. That's how I'm going to get to find out what B is. So now I can just simplify what's going on here. So minus 2 times B times minus 1 is going to be positive 2B equals 10. And then we've just got a little equation to solve. Divide both sides by 2 and we get that B is 5. So we've got A equals 3, B equals 5, and we're done. Of course, what we could do now, if you wanted, is we could replace the A up here with 3, replace the B up there with 5, and then multiply out those triple brackets and make sure we get to that. Okay. So let's have a look at a slightly more difficult one now. Okay, so we've got x minus 5 and then x plus a all squared equals x cubed plus bx squared plus 56x minus 80, and we want to find the values of a and b. Now the first thing I'd do on this one, which is a slight change but I think it's well worth it, is just rewriting how this is written just to make something a little bit clearer. So the way I'm going to rewrite it is I'm going to write it as x minus 5, and then instead of the x plus a squared, I'm going to write it twice as x plus a, just so it's nice and clear. And I know that if I expand this out, I need it to give me x cubed plus bx squared plus 56x minus 80. Okay. So similar kind of idea as last time. I'm going to focus first of all on finding out A. So the way I'm going to get to A is I'm going to have a look at what I've got. Now I've got a minus 80 over here, and I know the only way we're going to get to that minus 80 is if I do this minus 5 multiplied by A multiplied by A. So if I did start expanding this all out, the only way I get to this constant value at the end is by doing minus 5 times A times A. Okay. So once again, I'm just going to write down what I've just kind of deduced, which is minus 5 times by A equals minus 80. I'm going to tidy this up. That's going to give me minus 5a squared equals minus 80. Once again, I've got a little equation to solve. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to divide both sides by minus 5 to give me a squared equals 16. And then to solve this, I need to square root. So square root in both sides will give me 4. Now this is where we need to be careful. When we square root 16, we can have 4. We could also have minus 4. Now this is where this example, this question, is particularly tricky. I've got two possible options here. A could be 4 or A could be minus 4. And at the moment, I don't know which one is going to be correct. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to try both and see what happens. Because the way I'm going to get to B is basically by putting in the values of A, 4 first of all, and then minus 4 second of all, seeing which one seems to fit, so which one gives me this 56 as well, and then once I've found that one, whatever number I have in front of the x squared, that's going to be my value of B. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, well, what about when A is 4? So when A is 4, I'm going to have x minus 5, and then I'm going to have x plus 4 and x plus 4. So I'm going to just start expanding this out now. Okay, so if I start expanding that out, I'm going to leave the x minus 5 there, and I'm going to multiply out this double bracket here, x plus 4 multiplied by x plus 4, whatever method you're most happy with. I'm going to get x squared plus 8x plus 16 here. Okay, so now I'm going to start multiplying everything in this bracket by everything in this bracket. So when I start doing that, I'm going to have an x cubed. I'm going to have a minus 5x squared. Then I'm going to have an 8x squared and a minus 40x. Then I'm going to have a positive 16x and a negative 80. So if I start tidying this up, I'm going to have x cubed. The x squareds are going to give me minus 3. No, pardon me, positive 3x squared. Minus 40x plus 16x is going to give me minus 28x and minus 80. Now at this point, oh, I made another mistake there, haven't I? That should be minus 24x, pardon me. Now at this point, we should be able to spot that something's gone wrong here, okay? A can't be 4. The reason A can't be 4 is we need the x term to be have a coefficient of 56. And what we've ended up with is a coefficient of minus 24. So at this point, although it was fun expanding that out, all it's really sought to tell us is that A can't be 4. Okay, unless we've made any mistakes, and I made one, didn't I? But unless we've made any other mistakes, A can't be 4. So that was fun. But basically, that's just telling us that A can't be 4. So now we're going to see what happens when A is minus 4. So now I'm going to do x minus 5 multiplied by x minus 4 multiplied by x minus 4. So just replacing A with minus 4. I'm going to have x minus 5, and then I'm going to multiply these out. When I multiply this out, I'm going to get x squared minus 8x plus 16. So very similar to what happened last time. The key difference is over here we had a positive 8x, over here we've got a minus 8x. And we're hoping that's going to make all the difference. We're hoping we're going to end up with this 56x. So let's go for it, see what happens. So we're going to end up with an x cubed, a minus 5x squared, a minus 8x squared, a positive 40x, positive 16x, and then negative 80. So again, if we start tidying up, we're going to end up with an x cubed minus 13x squared. 40x plus 16x is a positive 56x. Yeehaw, that's what we were hoping for. And a minus 80. Okay. So in terms of what we had up here and what we've ended up with down here, we've got our x cubed, we've got our 56x, we've got our minus 80. So minus 4's looking like it's working out fine. So all we need to do now is figure out what b is. Well, all we need to do is say, well, b was the coefficient of x squared. Okay, and I've got my coefficient of x squared here, the number in front of the x squared here. It's minus 13. Okay, So at this point now, we're in a position to say that b is minus 13. So what you can always do now is just state your answer nice and clear at the end. A equals minus 4, because we discounted the positive 4, didn't we? And b is minus 13. So hopefully that's been useful, hopefully that makes sense, and you can have a go at some of those questions at the end of the Corbett Maths sheet. This is quite a challenging kind of question. I think it would be one that would be worth a good few marks if it was on an exam paper. So have a go at those ones on Corbett Maths, and if it's still not working, give me a shout and I'll try and give you a bit more help with it. Okay, thank you.